Well folks, we got ourselves a real rip snorter today. A 2026 Yamaha MT-10. That's right, the big dog of the Master of Torque lineup. This thing's about as subtle as a brick through a window, and I mean that in the best way possible. Yamaha took an already rowdy machine and cranked the dial up just a little more. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, well, we're about to find out. First impressions? This thing looks like it's ready to mug you in a dark alley. Yamaha didn't stray too far from the sharp robotic styling of the previous years, but they did refine it a bit. The LED projector headlights got a little more menacing, and there's some fresh bodywork that makes it look just a little bit more aggressive, like it's flexing even when it's parked. And the color choices? Yamaha's still got that deep blue option, but now you can also get it in a wild neon yellow or a stealthy matte gray. Whatever you pick, it's gonna turn heads. Swinging a leg over, it still feels like home for anyone familiar with the MT-10, but the seat's been reworked, just enough to make longer rides a little less punishing. The tank's got a new shape to it, subtle, but enough to make a difference in how you grip it with your knees when you're hanging on for dear life. The handlebars are a smidge wider, and that's gonna help with leverage, especially when you start tossing this thing around corners. Now, let's talk about the meat and potatoes. The engine. Yamaha's stuck with the CP4 inline 4, but they've given it a little more love. We're talking revised internals, some trickery with the intake and exhaust, and an ECU that's been mapped to make it even punchier in the mid-range. They're claiming about 170 horsepower now, which is just absurd for a naked bike like this. But let's be honest, nobody buys an MT-10 for self-control. Start it up, and yep, it still sounds like an angry wasp nest mixed with a muscle car. That cross-plane crank makes all the right noises. Deep, growly, and ready to rip your arms out of their sockets. Blip the throttle, and it snaps back like it's begging you to send it straight into orbit. Yamaha even tweaked the quick shifter, making it smoother both up and down, so there's no excuse for sloppy shifts now. Out on the road, this thing still feels like it's got a short fuse. Crack the throttle, and it lunges forward like it's been kicked by a mule. The power delivery is just violent enough to keep you on your toes, but refined enough that you're not fighting it. That's thanks to some upgraded electronics. Yamaha's got new ride modes that actually make a difference, plus a fancy 6-axis IMU that keeps everything in check when you start getting a little overzealous. Traction control, wheelie control, slide control, it's all there. But don't worry, you can still turn it off if you really want to test your life insurance policy. Brakes got a little upgrade too. They slapped some new Brembo hardware up front, and the master cylinder's been improved for better feel. Squeeze the lever, and it digs in hard, but not in a way that'll send you flying over the bars. The rear brake? Yeah, it's still mostly for decoration, but that's just how these things go. And then there's the suspension. Yamaha's finally thrown in semi-active electronic suspension on the premium model. That means it's constantly adjusting itself as you ride, tightening up when you're getting rowdy and softening when you're just cruising. The standard model still gets good old-fashioned manually adjustable suspension, and honestly, that's all most people are gonna need. Either way, this thing holds a line like a slot car and flicks side to side way easier than a bike with this much power has any right to. Fuel economy? Ha! Well, let's just say you're not buying this thing to save gas. Yamaha claims it's a little better than before, thanks to some engine tweaks and aerodynamic adjustments. But if you're wringing it out, you'll be seeing that fuel light sooner than you'd like. It's got a slightly larger tank now though, so at least you get a few extra miles before the panic sets in. At the end of the day, the 2026 MT-10 is still an absolute riot. Yamaha kept everything that made this bike a lunatic's dream and just fine-tuned the edges. It's still not for the faint of heart, and if you're looking for a relaxed, sensible ride, you're in the wrong place. But if you want a bike that feels like it's constantly daring you to do something stupid, well, Yamaha's got you covered.